Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. And I thought, now a couple days after the GTX 260 OC challenge is live, that I would actually show you how you can submit your scores. Yeah, so right here I have basically everything we need. So I have a verification screenshot. I have benched the card a little bit more since the live stream, as you can see by the score right here. The best from the live stream was, I think, a 1788. And I have since done... well, this is broken. I've since done some cap mods to the card. So I haven't really recorded this because I just wanted to just do it and then not have to bother like talking at the same time. I will go over it, what I've done in a different video, and might record it for a different card. This is also not what the card currently looks like. I did rework this a little bit. But yeah, so like I cap modded the card and reran it, and I got a lot better memory and shader clocks out of it. The core clock stayed the same as in the live stream. And yeah, that brought me to a new high score, which I can now submit to HwBot for the water cooling stage. And we're gonna do that here, and I'm gonna show you how you can do that. So let's bring up Google Chrome, and here we are on the HwBot main page. And to submit your score, you just need to click here, submit score. Of course, you need to log in before. I'm already logged in, so you need to make an account and log in. But once you've done that, you just go down here, and here we can submit GTX 260 OC challenge, water, which is what we're done for Unigine Tropics. And then here we can enter all the info that our test system had. And yeah, so our score was an 1841. And we're gonna enter hardware manually here, because you're gonna have to do that the first time you submit a score. We were using an i7-8700K at 5.3 gigahertz. That was on custom water cooling. We don't need to fill out the rest here. We were of course using a GTX 260 216 SP, and our clocks were, so for core speed 864, for shader clock 1944, and then for memory it was 1332. The card of course also on custom water cooling. The manufacturer is Gainward, and oops, don't click this. And the series is GS, or Golden Sample. And then the rest we can also leave empty, we don't need that. The motherboard is an Asus 9 Apex or 10 Apex, those are basically the same, on stock cooling. Memory is DDR4, it is Patriot Viper Steel, we have 16 gigabytes of it, and it is running at 1629, 4400 megahertz, also stock cooling, and we have B-die. Then disk, don't need to fill that out at all. Power supply, yeah, I have a gigabyte 750 watt, and it's an AP750GM. Before anyone starts to panic, the A series is good. It's only the P series that blows up. And now we come to the verification section. So we select our screenshot. And because the competition requires at least one image of your test bench to be uploaded as well, we also select that. Then the only thing we have to do is to verify that we have read and agreed to the rules of this benchmark. We don't have to do any of this up here. This is if you don't want points or if you got something sponsored. You can also submit a YouTube URL for a video. We might actually require videos for people that have suspiciously good scores or where we suspect something might be fishy. So yeah, like we might ask for video proof if something seems a little too good. You don't need a compare URL, by the way, because it's Tropics. Tropics does not have an online component. And you can write into the comment whatever you want. So I'm gonna write I'm just gonna write that for some little bit more context. And then that's it. That's everything that's filled out. And we can submit the benchmark result. And it's online. So, first place. Someone did actually beat my score, as it looks like, my 1788. So good that I'm back in first place. And yeah, it is now on HwBot. And you can also edit it. Like I could add the second image here and do that. Sometimes the website does give you an error if you try to upload too many images at the same time. So I tend to only upload the verification screenshot and the first image and then add the other ones later. Yeah. So that's how you upload your score. And what I want to do now is go a little bit more into the rule set. Because we have some, the first submissions are coming in, that's nice. Yeah, the rules have been slightly updated, so I want to go into that a little bit. So let's just go over everything for people who haven't seen the rules before. So first rule, use these benchmark settings only. That's the settings. That's just what we run because the default settings for Tropics run the bench in full screen, which makes you unable to make a verification screenshot because we need to see the score window of the benchmark and then like CPU-Z and GPU-Z windows at the same time. That's why we do these settings specifically. You can actually edit an XML file to have these be the default settings. So you don't have to set them every time. Then here's a download link to Unigine Tropics. It's free, it's only 57 megabytes. It's a fairly old test, so that's where you can download it. Then, of course, because it's the 260 OST challenge, only GTX 260s are allowed. We allow both the 192 SP and 216 SP variant of the graphics card. Mostly because it's kind of hard to distinguish between the two. It's kind of like the DDR4 and GDDR5 GT 1030 from NVIDIA. They don't really tell you how many cores your card will actually have. Now, ideally, you'd want a 216 SP because they are faster than the 192s. But since it's kind of designed as an entry point, as like an entry competition for new people who might only want to buy one card, and if they end up with the 192 SP, you can't really tell them to like, oh, well, you can't actually participate, and then they think, well, that was a waste of time and money. So we allow the 192 SP. If you're really good at benching that card, you might actually get pretty far in the ranking. It's not that big of a difference, but you want a 216 SP ideally. Engineering hardware, engineering sample hardware is allowed. That's a thing. It is allowed. And then your verification screenshots must include CPU-Z tabs for CPU and memory and GPU-Z tabs for GPU and sensors. You also have to be using the official competition wallpaper, which is linked right here. Then here's a sample screenshot on how it's supposed to look like. Don't be confused by the wallpaper. It's different because back then the wallpaper didn't exist yet. But yeah, you can see I also included the mainboard tab in this one. It is optional, you don't need to do that, but I just kind of do. But everything else is how it's supposed to be. Like it's supposed to be the entire desktop, graphics card and sensors tab for GPU-Z, and memory and CPU tab for CPU-Z, and then with the mainboard tab, that's optional. And the benchmark finished window must be entirely visible. Then include a picture of your overclocked setup. We already went through this. And then for more info, of course, you can contact me. And I've also, or more like they have linked a little spreadsheet that I've made, which goes into the rules again and expands a little bit. So it's again like which cards are allowed, benchmark with the benchmark settings using the exact same links as on the main HwBot site. Here's a little bit more explanation for the different stages. So for the air stage, your card has to be on air cooling. You can use an aftermarket heatsink, but it has to be air cooling. And you are supposed to abide by a quote-unquote reasonable ambient temperature rule, so that you don't just like go outside in -degree temperatures, and while it's still technically air cooling, it might be sub-zero, but actually heat pipes I think stop working at minus temperatures, but like don't go below 15 degrees is basically the rule. Your ambient temp is not supposed to be lower than 15 degrees. Similar thing with water cooling. It's the same as the air stage, but you can allow, like we do allow water cooling, and specifically water buckets plus ice cubes is allowed, but water chillers are not. Yes, I'm aware there's water chillers that are basically on par with bucket and ice cubes, but it is really hard to verify if that water chiller you're using is actually on par with that or significantly stronger, because there are water chillers that don't actually run water because water freezes at 0, but there's water chillers where the fluid can go to -20. And we originally wanted to allow weaker water chillers about on par with the water bucket with ice cubes in it, but it was suggested to me by the people from HwBot that we probably shouldn't be allowing that because it invites people to abuse the rule. So sadly, we do not allow water chillers. They need to go into stage 3, which is sub-zero. And in stage 3, just anything goes. You can use whatever cooling you want. Use LN2 if you feel like it. So that's basically the stages. And here's some more general rules. So in terms of PCB mods, this kind of goes without saying, but you can modify your PCB in whatever way you want. There is an OS limitation. We only allow Windows 7, 8, 10, and 11. There is no Windows XP allowed. Mostly again because the accessibility to new people when it comes to Windows XP would be pretty bad. Installing Windows 7 as it is on some platforms is already hard enough. And there's some data suggesting that Windows XP would actually give you quite a big score improvement. And we really don't want to have people go through the hassle of setting up Windows XP when Windows 7 is already hard enough on things like Ryzen. Windows 7 on Ryzen is rough. LLD and tessellation tweak is allowed, as it is the norm for most HwBot benchmarks. Engineering sample hardware, again, allowed. Competition wallpaper, we've already seen the link. And then, yeah, you are supposed to have an image of your test bench. And then again, the verification screenshot is going to link to the example one, and it again goes into for CPU-Z, CPU and memory mandatory, and mainboard is optional. GPU-Z, graphics card and sensors tab must be visible, and you need your entire desktop, and also of course the benchmark results window must be visible. And that's basically the rules. So yeah. I wish you all the best of luck competing in this. We already have a bunch of submissions, so that's a red card. There's another one of the red cards. The red cards are really good, from what I've heard. Yeah, that one also did already some cap mods. Another red card. This one's not one of the red ones, actually. Yeah, I don't know what the PCB from this one is. Here's another red card. Yeah. So the air stage is seeing some competition. I should probably do a little bit in that. And wow, that is a lot of score. I can maybe beat that, but it's gonna be kind of hard. That memory clock is really good for air. Yeah, so people are already competing. Water stage, not as much, but you know, people are already competing. Oh, this person has a Galax card and it's E-powered. Wow. Yeah, the Galax card has these weird 45-degree memory modules. So we have already someone who's e-powering their card. That's interesting. And oh yeah, I heard about this. This was accidentally submitted to the water stage. This is not supposed to be here. Well, technically it's allowed. Like you could post your air-cooled card in the water cooling stage. It's just gonna be worse than water cooling. It's not technically like a problem if you post this here, but I remember seeing in the Discord that this was supposed to go into the air stage. I don't think anyone has subbed Sub-Zero yet. Yeah, Sub-Zero is empty. No one's done it yet. So yeah, it's nice to see that there's interest. And yeah, I wish you all the best of luck competing, having fun, learning something new. And I'll make sure to keep the content coming and make a video whenever I find something that's worthwhile talking about with the card and that can help you a little bit. So until next time, goodbye.